Shabbat shalom. Go to before we go there, Beyond Black History. Why would I title it Beyond Black History? Hey, go ahead. I get him a mic.
Before we were called black?
In other words, it goes beyond us being quote unquote black. A lot of times when they say black, that leaves out a large number of Israelites who are not necessarily identifying themselves as black, right? So a lot of times, of course, divide and conquer, they split us up, black and brown, even black, brown, and red, right? But we all know who the real red man is, right? Now, when you talk about black and brown, what's really the difference between black and brown? Go to Deuteronomy chapter 28. Deuteronomy chapter 28. Let's get verse 37.
Deuteronomy 28:37. And thou shalt become an astonishment.
So this is a prophecy, right? He said we would become an astonishment. All right, go ahead.
An astonishment, a proverb.
A proverb, go ahead.
And a byword.
And a byword. So a byword. A byword is pretty much any name, any title that's not the name that was originally given to you or given to your people. All right? We took on the name of Yasharallah because we're the progeny of a man by the name of Yasharallah, right? We're his descendants. That's the reason why we took on his name. That is a practice that still carries on throughout this very day. Not even just here in this particular land, but pretty much all over the earth. People are still taking on the names of their fathers, all right? No different as a nation, we took on the name of our father. So when did we become black? When did we become brown? Now here's the thing. In Scripture, you see references of black. But let's get some understanding on that. Go to Songs of Solomon, chapter 1 and verse 5. Because I know some people that get caught up. Then you got people that go as far as to say, well, nah, the children of Israel were only black people. Then you got some people that say, nah, the children of Israel are only brown people, not dark brown. All of the foolishness. Songs of Solomon, chapter 1 and verse 5.
Verse 5, I am black.
So he said it straight out. This is Solomon speaking. He said, I am black. I'm black. But what does I'm black really mean? What is he talking about? You go into that particular word black, you go and use a tool such as the Strong's Concordance, right? You'll get H7835. Shakar, right? It means dark in color. To be black or dark of skin. So does it necessarily mean actual black? Nah. Let me get you another one. Go to Genesis chapter 30. Genesis chapter 30, and let's get verse 32.
Book of Genesis 30, verse 32. I will pass through all thy flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep.
So hold on. The word brown. The word brown is only used in one location in the Bible, and it's used multiple times, I think maybe 4 times, but it's only in this particular passage right here. Only in this particular chapter. Nowhere else in this book is the term brown used. So is there such a difference between black and brown? When you go into the definition of what this word brown means, you'll find that it means sunburnt or swarthy, blackish, brown, dark color, darkened, dark brown, or black. So now, it's safe to say, when we're talking about so-called black history, we're really talking about Israelite history, all right? This is the month, the shortest month of the year, of the so-called year, right? As well as, when you look at it, the last month of the real year. So they not only gave us the shortest, but they gave us the last. It's a slap in the face. That's why I said beyond black history. It's about Israelite history. And it's about Israelite history 24/7. There is no other history that interests me more than my own history. And then I'll begin to deal with other history as it relates to us, because everything does relate to us. Why? Because we're the common denominator. We're the centerpiece to it all. All right? That's what makes sense to me. So let's go from there. Go to 1 Corinthians chapter 13. First Corinthians chapter 13, and let's get verse 9. And we'll read on down to 13.
1 Corinthians 13, verse 9. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part.
So, the rest of the title is 400 years later. You got so many of our people who know they are Israelites, right? Who are doing good work. Many are. And they're teaching, and they're saying, look, 400-year prophecy. 400-year prophecy. 2019, we up out of here. Well, it's 2020. What happened? As many good things as Farrakhan has brought to the table, right? When he did that justice or else, I wanted to see what that or else was going to be. Right? So what happened with the or else?
I'm still waiting.
Not a damn thing. Nothing happened. So that's why we got to be careful, because sometimes we get a little bit zealous and, you know, we interpret things as we interpret them, but the truth of the matter is, read it one more time.
For we know in part, and we prophesy in part.
We know in part and we prophesy in part. Does that automatically dismiss a lot of things that we speak on that are true, that can be proven? No. You got to use your common sense. People start saying, well, if y'all don't know on that, then you probably don't know on this. Scriptures say prove all things. Those things we can prove. This is one thing I haven't met an Israelite yet that has been able to prove this to me. Now what's going to happen is, it's going to happen just like pretty much everything else. Once it's done and we're delivered, we can go back and say, oh, that was the starting point. That's when the 400 years began. People want to say 1619, right? Well, it just so happens to be that we're in the United States of America, and supposedly in 1619, that's when it's documented that the ships finally began to drop off slaves in the United States of America, in North America. So we said, hey, we feel pretty important. Why not start the count from there? 1619 to 2019, that'll be 400 years, and at the end of that, during 2019, we going home. It's 2020, we ain't went home yet. I'm just saying, not taking shots. What I'm saying is, we still in the right ballpark. It will be soon because of all the other things that the Bible specified that would be happening. But we know in part, we prophesy in part. We don't know exactly what that specific marker is. And it's okay, trust me. We know to do a lot of the other things that will allow us to be able to gain salvation, right? This one thing ain't gonna hurt us. We can wait and we can be patient until it's revealed. Go ahead and read.
But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away.
You see that? When that which is perfect, meaning complete, when we finally do get up out of here, when the king finally does show himself, we finally do put away this evil nation Babylon, right? Then, from that moment, when we on our way back, we can say, okay, now we can figure out what that marker is, legitimately. Just like we did everything else. We can go back now in history and be like, whoa, it really was this amount of years. Go ahead.
When I was a child, I spake as a child.
When I was a child, I spake as a child. Not only when I was a child in the flesh, but we got to go back sometimes and look at when we were a child in our understanding. When we were a child in the truth, if you will. When we were still in need of milk. We had to get the pre-milk. What you call that? The breast milk before it even looked like milk. The clear stuff. Who do? The what? It's another name, like colostrum. Okay, for sure. Well, that. We need to get that and get all of the nutrients and, you know. Right. Then we got older and we started drinking the regular milk. And then after we drunk milk for so long and got strong and teeth started getting big, then it was time to wean. And we started eating that smashed up food, right? Didn't have to do too much chewing. Didn't have to worry about it being a choking hazard, right? You know what I'm saying? But we got to remember, there was a time when we were children in our understanding. And it's crazy because as a child, your reasoning is not the same as when you get older. If somebody tell you something, that is what it is. And you will argue it to the death. If that's what daddy say, or that's what mommy say, unless mommy come and say, nah, baby, such and such, or daddy come and say, nah. Then we'll say, okay. But if somebody just trying to come and tell us something different, that ain't what my mama say, that ain't what my daddy say. And then as we get older, we realize, like, okay, there's reasoning in between. All right? Go ahead.
When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things.
When we become grown and adult in spirit, we start putting those childish things away. I ask you right now, just because you think that, I don't know, 2019, 2020, is that necessarily going to affect your salvation? Nah. Keeping these commandments will, right? We can't, Because that's what happens too. You got a lot of Israelites, they want understanding. But the Bible tells you in order to get understanding, you got to submit yourself to the keeping of the commandments. So you got a whole lot of people that want understanding but will not submit themselves to the keeping of the commandments. But that's the prerequisite to get understanding, is to submit yourself to the keeping of the commandments. And that's the reason why you got so many Israelites that are running around that don't have a proper understanding to be able to give you an understanding on some of these things, because they haven't submitted themselves to the keeping of the commandments. It's that simple. Go ahead, verse 12.
For now we see through a glass darkly.
We see through a glass darkly, meaning what? We see through a glass darkly. Off top, depending on what the glass looks like, and what angle I'm looking in, and whether or not the glass has a tint, and if we're talking about darkly, you're talking about looking through a tint, what you're going to see is not going to be necessarily as clear as seeing it without a glass, especially a tinted glass between you and the thing that you're looking at. So what he's telling you is what? You don't have a clear vision, a clear sight of exactly all the details, the fine details and the particulars of what it is that you're seeing. Doesn't mean that you can't see somewhat what's behind that glass. You can make out the configuration, but you might not be able to tell me how many eyelashes. You feel what I'm saying? You might not be able to tell me exactly. You can tell me that he got a shirt on, but you probably can't see the collar of the shirt. You can't tell me what the tags say. Just can't see all of the details. Go ahead.
But then face to face, now I know in part. But then shall I know, even as also I am known.
He said at some point we're going to see face to face. He said, now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known. Meaning there will come a time where we will know. We will be able to go back and say this is exactly the time period. Why? Because it will no longer be prophecy, but it will be what? Reality. It's going to be what? History. It's going to be history. We can go back. I can go back and fact check right now. Facts, like my boy says. Go back and, hey, it's right there, Alexander. Yep. Just like the Bible said. Well, you should be able to do that, man. Look, I ain't Moses. Just drop the mic on him after you say that. Go from there. Get Genesis chapter 15. You know, it saves a whole lot of energy when you don't debate about something that you can't definitively prove. You got to stand in defense of the gospel, but there's some things we just don't know specifically, and it's okay. I never want to be that guy that's sitting up there trying to explain something, pulling it out of a rabbit's hat, pulling a rabbit out of the hat, so to speak, just because I'm too prideful to say I don't know. It's that simple. Let them huff and puff if they may, and it don't matter to me. 15, verse 12 through 14. Go ahead.
Genesis 15 and 12. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram. And lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him.
He said a horror of great darkness. What he was about to see was something that was disturbing. Go ahead.
And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years.
So he said, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, right? So if you pay close attention, right, He didn't say serve them for how long. But then he goes on and say, and they what?
And they shall serve them in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years.
But that's the part right there. He says, and they shall afflict them 400 years. Afflict them 400 years. Because if I just read the one part where I'm like, and they shall serve them, well, he didn't say how long. He didn't necessarily say how long they was going to be captives, how long they was going to be slaves. But then he throws it in there. He says 400 years they're going to be afflicted. 400 years. Go from there. Give me the book of Acts. Chapter 7, verse 6 and 7.
Acts 7, 6.
Mm-hmm.
6 or 7, right?
Yes, sir.
Book of Acts 7, verse 6. And the Most High spake on this wise, that his seed shall sojourn in a strange land, that they should bring them into bondage.
So now he's giving you words like bondage. Go ahead.
And entreat them evil 400 years.
And entreat them evil 400 years. Go ahead and read.
And the nation to whom they shall be in bondage will I judge, said the Most High.
Go ahead.
And after that shall they come forth and serve me in this place.
So now, when you go and look into history, you'll find that the children of Israel have been in many captivities, right? You'll find, right, that the major captivities go like this. I'm going to kind of give it to you all in a nutshell so it doesn't take up the whole class. First captivity, Egypt. We were in captivity in Egypt, not as one particular kingdom, but there was no divided kingdom at that time. It was the entire the entire nation of Israel, right? Both northern and southern kingdom, right? Egypt. How long were we enslaved in Egypt? Huh? 400 and somebody said 70 and who, what? Huh? 430 years? We were in Egypt that long? Huh? 80 years?
Trick question.
Yeah. So this couldn't have been talking about ancient Egypt. It could not have been talking about our first captivity. Because in our first captivity, as a matter of fact, let's go there, Exodus chapter 12. Our first captivity did not last anywhere near 400 years. We were in Egypt for a total of 430 years. But only the last 80 years of that captivity, we were actually in captivity. Only the last 80 of the time that we were in Egypt, I should say. I think I might have called the whole thing a captivity. It wasn't, right? 350 years of that time, we flourished in Egypt. That's why, and I'm going to kind of give you a quick recap of a lot of things that happened over a large period of time. That's why it was no big deal during the time of the Greeks for there to be reference of our people being there in Egypt during that time. City that ended up being named Alexandria after Alexander, right? Our people had been living in that land for so long. Not everybody up and left out of that land. And then out of those that had left, you had many of those that came back. In the same way that Yahweh Shai was brought back into Egypt during that time. When he was brought back, he wasn't necessarily brought back to hide amongst Hamites. Trust. He was brought back because there were Israelites in that land. Mind you, what's so fascinating about the whole thing, anytime you get someone who claims to be Kemetic, right? Anytime you get someone who claims to be a Kemite, the very place throughout all of Africa that they hold dear happens to be the place where the Israelites dwelt. Even by calling themselves Kemetic, they confirm by that statement alone that they are believers in what it is that the Bible teaches. Because Kim is one and the same as the man known as Ham. Right? So now, when they talk about the Nile Valley, they're talking about Goshen. They're talking about avarice. They're talking about that same place. So I let them go ahead and talk. I let them build my case for me when we speak. And then I hit them with the woo-wop. But watch this. Let's read Exodus chapter 12. And let's get verse 40 and 41. It's just a little quick recap.
Exodus 12, verse 40. Now the sojourning of the children of Israel, which dwelt in Egypt, was 430 years.
So they were in Egypt for a total of 430 years. Read.
And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the selfsame day, it came to pass that all the hosts of the Lord went out from the land of Egypt.
So he said to the day, after that 430 years, they left. So there's no time after 430 years to play with. Whatever happened had to be within that 430 years. Go to the book of Exodus, chapter 1. And we're going to read verse 5 through 14.
Exodus 1 and verse 5. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls. For Joseph was in Egypt already.
So this is the beginning of that 430 years. Read on.
And Joseph died, and all his brethren and all that generation.
So hold on. Common sense. And this is also confirmed by archaeologists and historians alike, right? We just read one verse, right? Verse 5, right? And then we went on to verse 6. In verse 6 it says, and Joseph died. Do you think that it meant that as soon as they walked in, Joseph died? Some years had passed between the time where they came in. Joseph was the governor. He was the second in command over all of Egypt, right? He served for some years, right? Probably even got a chance to retire. And then at some point, then he passed away, right? Go ahead and read.
Verse 7. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly.
So another thing that I missed, it says in all that generation. So not only was it just talking about Joseph, but inclusive to everybody that was around his age that was living at that time after the time that they had passed on, right? So you're talking about all of the people that were living during that time, all of them had to basically die out. Go ahead.
And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly, and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them.
Now, did that sound like slavery? Does that sound like captivity at all? Not at all. So throughout the beginning of their time, they weren't in captivity at all. As a matter of fact, when you go into history, it tells you that Israelites even became pharaohs. They became the kings of that time. There's a lot of history and some that's debated, but you're talking about the dynasties. They said it's more than possible that some of these dynasties were predominantly, if not entirely, Israelite dynasties, right? So we had a reasonable amount of time doing well in Egypt. So we were not enslaved for 400 years. Go ahead.
Now there arose a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph.
So now, for a king to know not Joseph, as great of a man as Joseph was, right? When it says he knew not Joseph, it's the equivalent of our kids maybe not knowing, say, I don't know. I'm going to go a little bit further than that. You know, Mike died, you know, not too long ago, maybe like a decade ago. Maybe somebody like Marvin Gaye. Let's stay around there and their parents is playing Marvin Gaye. They don't know who Marvin Gaye is. Let me see if I can put it to the test. Some of these kids be hearing some of this music, so it might backfire on me if I ask them. It might backfire on me. You know Marvin Gaye, huh? You know Sam Cooke? Nah, see, you don't know Sam Cooke, see? All right, so check it out. After so much time had passed on, you got this new Pharaoh. He's trying to make a name for himself. He's a Hamite. You tell me about this Israelite. He's not even of our people way back when. We doing things differently. All I know is since I've been growing up, these Israelites, man, they making moves. They gonna mess around and try to run things. I can't have that. This was over the course of a couple of hundred of years. That's what I'm trying to show you. A couple of hundreds of years. Go ahead.
Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass, that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies, and fight against us. And so we get them up out of the land.
So he said, look, man, we gotta be wise. It ain't no hard feelings, right? I even grew up with an Israelite that was my homeboy. But he said, look, man, we gotta do what's best for our people. And they getting strong, they gonna mess around and join with the enemy. We gotta deal wisely with them. Go ahead.
Therefore they did set over them taskmasters, to afflict them with their burdens.
So that's when it started. That's when it started. And I'm not gonna go through all of the details. If you can, do your research on your own. If not, feel free to come ask me or ask any of these brothers that's qualified, man. These brothers be putting in work, and they'll give you the understanding. Shortly thereafter, Moses was born. Moses is the marker that we use to understand how long that captivity lasted. All right? He's the marker. Go ahead.
And, therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramesses. And the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel.
And even in the time where we was being afflicted, we was still producing. We was still having babies, and we was still getting stronger. Go ahead.
But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor.
Go ahead.
And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor.
Was with rigor. So that captivity lasted 80 years. That was a long time for them. I mean, that would be a long time for us. But literally, you could have been born and potentially lived throughout that whole captivity and actually been an older man or woman when they actually came up out of Egypt, right? So even though, respectably, right, it was a long time, it was nowhere near 400 years. So you got Egypt, right? Then after Egypt, some of the major ones that we recognize that we know of, you got Assyria. The northern kingdom alone went into the Assyrian captivity, right? They were in the Assyrian captivity for quite some time, still nowhere near 400 years. Then you had ancient Babylon. Well, not ancient Babylon, but the Neo-Babylonian Empire, right? You got the southern kingdom that went into that captivity, right? Nowhere near 400 years. After Babylon, you had the Medo-Persian Empire, nowhere near that amount of time. Then you had the Greeks, nowhere near that amount of time. Then you had the Romans, nowhere near that amount of time. Then you had all of the other captivities that were mentioned in the books of the Judges. And these captivities range from single-digit numbers to maybe like, I think the longest one might have been, I don't want to sit up here and lie and then somebody call me out. Yeah, maybe like 30, 40 years at the most. But you had like some 6, 7, 8 year captivities that ranged all the way up to that number. Still nowhere near 400 years. So that's why when he was dealing with Abraham, he said it was a darkness that came over him to see his people be in captivity for 400 years. That was a big deal. There was a lot for us to lose being in captivity 400 years. And indeed, look at all that we've lost. This captivity right here, the worst part of the captivity is we'd probably be doing better if we were still getting whooped. Because you still have some slaves trying to run away. Whole lot of those that identify themselves, that are Israel, that identify themselves with Native, right? Identify themselves with Hispanic, Latino, so on and so forth. You've been so lost in your history, you don't even know that even before the whip was put to the so-called black folks' back, the whip was put to yours. Before they started transporting the so-called blacks, they was already transporting you back and forth over that Atlantic Ocean. One people going through the same thing. But in this day and age, you don't even recognize that you a slave at all. Because you got amenities. You get to watch the Laker game. You get to watch Lifetime. You get to go to Cold Stone and In and Out. You get to buy nice things every now and again. You get to get your hair whipped up and your hair all cut up nice. You get to put on fly gear. You get to work a job that pays you something that you're proud of, even though you still get raped through taxes. It's hard for you to believe that you a slave. Oh, this is a life too comfortable. 400 years later. Go from there. Give me Book of Revelation, chapter 11 and verse 8.
Revelation 11, verse 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt.
And Egypt. This is that Egypt. He said this Egypt is going to be way worse than that first Egypt. That one scripture. He say, look, no longer will they say the Most High that brought the children of Israel up out of Egypt. He said, but they going to say this time, the Most High Yahweh, who brought up the children of Israel out of all of the different places, the diaspora, all the places where we've been scattered all throughout the earth. Imagine what that's going to look like. For real, for real. We get so desensitized. We done seen so many shootings. We done had so many homies go. So many loved ones die from cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart attack, stroke. We done seen it all. So we desensitized. It ain't no big deal to us. We'll mourn for a minute, and we be done forgot about it in an hour. Straight up. But this is Egypt. This is Egypt on crack. On steroids, I should say. I know, I had to switch it out.
Right, you had to amp it up. You made it sound
Yeah,
like Egypt.
on crack,
Yeah.
Egypt on steroids, jacked up. He said, you ain't gonna do 80 in this one, you gonna do 400 in this one, 400 hard ones. It's crazy, because at the end, that's why he said, I'm gonna take the yoke up off you once you get destroyed. We've been destroyed for so long, we don't need no chains. Used to have dogs, man, that dog done been locked up in cage so long, man, you finally let him loose. Boy, he get out there, he get to running. He run around, he don't know where to go, but he ain't going nowhere far. After he done ran enough, boy, he coming right back home. He run right back in the gate. He even go into his little cage. Some of them, they done been in too long, they scared to go out the gate at all.
Right.
You got to daggone there push them. That's us. We don't want to go out the gate, and if we go, we don't want to go too far. We got to come back. Master gonna feed us in about an hour. Can't miss that. We having kibbles and bits today. He said he might even throw some scraps in there. Yeah, boy. Go from there. Yeah, he might give us a bone or two. You know how you put something together and then you start looking like, I don't need these. Yeah, I'm gonna kind of just go off the spirit.
There you go.
Some of these I don't need. Y'all might be happy. The lesson might be short. Look, my wife got tickled, boy. She said, "Thank you, Jesus." Forgot you how it shine, boy. I'm gonna call you by your Greek name. All right, go to Luke chapter 17 and verse 37. This ain't Uncle Luke's book. Luke 17, verse 37.
Luke 17, verse 37. And they answered and said unto him, Where, Lord? And he said unto them,
They said, where? Where they at? Watch what he tell them. Go ahead.
Wheresoever the body is, thither will the eagles be gathered together.
Where the eagles at? That's how you know where them children of Israel at. Just look for the eagles. Any eagles here? Huh? Bald eagle here. The eagle of all eagles. 'Cause you got eagles all around the world. They looking at everything. They over every little place. Hey, we running this right here. Hold on. You may not see us, but yeah, we got our hands in the government. They here though. They here. This is their number one spot. This the headquarters. The bald eagle himself. Right? So if you want to know where the body is, where the children of Israel is at, just look for the eagles. 400 years later, all you got to do is look for the eagles. You trying to figure out, we talked to Kenya today, Israelites in Kenya, right? IQ just gave me news on what's going on in Ghana. All you got to do is look for the eagles. Tazarah, we was in Ghana. You look, all you had to do was wait a little while. Didn't them eagles show up? Wasn't they sitting there as they had everybody working for them? All you got to do is look for the eagles. They there. That's when you know you where the children of Israel is at. Go from there. Give me Lamentations chapter 5. Lamentations. Some of y'all ain't never pulled a dictionary out to see what lamentation mean. How many of y'all know what lamentation mean? Lamentations chapter 5, verse 2 through 9.
Lamentations 5 and 2. Our inheritance is turned to strangers.
Uh-huh.
Our houses to aliens.
You want to know what's happening 400 years later? Ain't too much changed. Go ahead.
We are orphans and fatherless. Our mothers are as widows.
Go ahead.
We have drunken our water for money.
Uh-huh.
Our wood is sold unto us.
We drunken our own water for money. This land did not belong to the so-called white man. This land belonged to the natives, who were Israelites, who everyone knew were Israelites, who were keeping still many of the customs of their forefathers. And yet, you live on a land where they will sell you your own natural resources in a bottle. How high is your water bill? It said, nah, you can't have access to no land. We own everything. You're going to have to pay for water. You're going to have to pay for natural gas. You're going to have to pay for electricity. How much does it really cost them? I mean, if you really wanted to, you can do things to cause yourself to be able to get electricity right from the sky right now. You got to do is go and, you don't even got to develop the equipment at this point. You can go and purchase your own equipment, right? Hook it all up, get electricity, be off the grid free of charge. But how much are they charging you for your electricity? Collectively, your electricity, you got to watch how much you running it, your gas, your water bill, right? Didn't they charge you for dumping your own trash, right? They charging you for dumping trash, right? But who are the people that's actually doing the work? They look like us. How come we can't get that money? They gonna give you a fraction. Well, we gonna pay you a good amount. We're gonna pay you $20 an hour. Go ahead, Oh, nah, absolutely not. Absolutely. Wow. Say it in the mic. Go ahead and give him the mic.
You have a lot of recyclers in the city, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can't even get the recycles from the trash bins. You can't get them. And at the same time, if they catch you, you either get fined or you get arrested.
You get arrested for going through trash, things that people have thrown away, to get recyclables, to make money off those recyclables. And we pay for everything. It ought to make you mad. But see, we'll get mad for the moment and be like, man, that is messed up. After class, we done forgot about it. Y'all will forget about this lesson. I'll give y'all like an hour after I finish. Hey, just try it. Later on tonight, ask somebody what I taught on. I guarantee they ain't gonna be able to tell you all he know. Oh, yeah, it was a good lesson. He taught,
Church.
400 years. 400. That's all they gonna remember. YG 400. They ain't gonna remember a doggone thing I spoke on. Hardly. Because like I said, man, we just so used to oppression, man. I mean, it's no other way to say it. Go ahead and read.
There's another thing. When it said we're drinking our water for money, Nestle water, they've been stealing water from California aquifers for years, like 60-some-odd billion a year. They bottling it up, selling it to us. A natural resource we always talk about, something that the Most High gave us. The earth is 3/4 water. They found a way to hustle it, bottle it up, and slanging it to us. And then, like you said, you can't even get your money back trying to recycle the bottles. They charging you CRV fees and everything else. So not only you paying for the water, you paying for the bottle, you paying for every damn thing.
It's cold-blooded, man, and they got laws, man.
Nestle.
Esau law.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not getting their water, like some water companies will take their water straight from like a mountain source. They're taking it from the source of what's already free or supposedly supposed to be somewhat free for us that we already pretty much paying for is the best way to say it. They're taking tap water and legally all they have to do is put a small percentage of whatever source of water, purified water, to say it's that. So when you see spring water, it doesn't necessarily have to be 100% spring water. You see things that are organic doesn't mean it necessarily has to be 100% organic. If it has a certain percentage of that in it, then they can legally say that it's that.
It's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah. And then they don't even have to, they're not even getting the licensing to do it. They just taking the water. And they like basically sue us. We're gonna keep doing it until you sue us. But California kind of putting them on notice, like, look, y'all stop doing it, but they ain't stopping.
Nah.
So we could get a purifier and bottle up some water and put our label on. We could sell it like Hebrew water.
You can't do it.
No, you gonna have to get taxed.
Wait.
It's gonna be a problem.
You Israel, have you forgot?
They're gonna say, hey, you know what's so cold-blooded? When I sit here and think about it, I purchased those little filtration straws. One little skinny filtration straw, right? They say you can filter. It's like a ridiculous amount, like 250,000 gallons of water through one filtration. So whatever, it's nothing for them. It's not causing them any. If I can filter 250,000 gallons of water through one doggone straw, it's not costing them anything to filter this water, man. Making a killing. We trying to sell dope. We should have been selling water from the jump. God, dog. Esau, man, he make money. Money off of everything. He make money off of everything. You look at your shoes, the little things on the end of the shoestrings. What are those called? Lattices or something? He make money off of everything. Everything costs. Everything. He said, I'm going to get a cut.
Right.
I'm going to get more than a cut, as a matter of fact. I'm going to get the majority and leave you with a small portion. Go ahead, verse 5.
Verse 5, our necks are under persecution. We labor and have no rest.
He said, we labor and have no rest. All you do, how many of y'all feel like y'all get enough rest? How many of y'all feel like you work too much and don't have enough to show for it? Let me ask you a question. Boy, unify. You take so-called blacks and Latinos and native indigenous people, and you take all of them off of the job, what would you have left of a workforce here in the United States?
Nothing.
What?
That's the same thing in Egypt. You know, once the children of Israel left Egypt,
Oh, that's why he didn't want to let them go. Yeah, he didn't want. That's why he didn't want to let them go. He knew if they leave, then who's going? Like that's the you got to make sure you pay attention to everything that the Bible says when he talked about their occupation as shepherds. You're nothing without cattle. So many things that you get just from raising and keeping herds. But they were like, we're not going to do it. That's what we got them for. They're the ones that are there to do the dirty work. You know what I'm saying? So, we labor And yet we have no rest. They don't even want to allow us to observe our Sabbath, get a proper day of rest. You got to work 2 and 3 jobs just to survive, just to pay bills at this point. You got people, especially people that's not in the truth, that don't have no days off. Straight up, read.
We have given the hand to the Egyptians and to the Assyrians to be satisfied with bread. Our fathers have sinned and are not, and we have borne their
He
iniquity.
said our fathers have sinned and are not. We've given ourselves over into our oppressors, right? Our fathers have sinned and are not, and we have borne their iniquities, meaning what? We doing the same stuff that they was doing. It's crazy. We want to sit up here and act like, oh, we ain't doing the extras. We ain't like we, serving no idols. What do you think our people are doing then? Every holiday is attached to, if not one, multiple idols, multiple pagan festivals and rituals and deities. Multiple. Nothing has changed. They just packaged it and used different terminology and made you feel good about doing something that we always understood was wicked. And we doing even worse because we dibble and dabble in everything. They got you so comfortable, you'll try any kind of abomination. I'll try anything. It's sushi. I'll eat a little bit of dog. Try that cat. It's awesome. Octopus. Oh, it's a little squishy, but it tastes like chicken. Man, our grandparents would, cuss us out doing half of the things that we willing to do today. Wearing half of the things that we willing to wear. See, the nonsense that the new generations are wearing, a couple of decades ago, it was a no-go. You was a weirdo if you wore certain things.
No.
Now you brave.
I just seen a video of one of the little Jakes that made that song, You're a Jerk, You're a Jerk. And he admitted that they was wearing women's pants.
Oh, wow.
He said, man, we should get credit. We made Forever 21 famous. We was in there buying the clothes. The skinny jeans, they originated with women's clothes. They was buying up the women's pants. Straight up. Dude said it. And then he tried to, until they, I guess, started making the slim and the, clothes for men, I guess. But that's why I used to always say, man, the women is mad because the brothers is buying up all the damn clothes.
God, dog.
And they can't tell whose pants is whose out the laundry. Like, it's crazy. Nah, but for real. Little brother, I forgot what his name is, but the ones that made the Jerk song, they were saying they revolutionized, wearing the skinny jeans and all that. And he was like, yeah, man, we used to buy them from the women's store, man, because they didn't, they was always selling the baggy stuff, but cross-dressing, for real. It's all
Cold-blooded.
twisted.
Y'all still jerking out there? I know that was some of y'all era. Look, now y'all cool now. Y'all men now. We was trying to tell y'all. you done brought it back G, huh? For a minute you went off into that side. I was like, nah, that was after me. He said, I done kept it baggy all this time. Yeah, man, go ahead.
Verse 8, servants have ruled over us. There is none that doth deliver us out of their hand.
Go ahead.
We got our bread with the peril of our lives because of the sword of the wilderness. Our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine. They ravished the women in Zion and the maids in the cities of Judah.
That was all I needed. I didn't even need 10. So, in other words, we still under persecution. We still under oppression. 400 years, give or take, later. Ain't much changed. There's a need for revolution. Revolution, what's the key word in revolution? Revolt. There's a need for us to revolt. Go to Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 33.
Book of Jeremiah 50, verse 33. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together.
Together. That's the thing, man. The reason why they call this place Egypt is because that was the last major captivity where the entire nation together had to serve our captivity. Literally. You got, and a lot of times we get caught up, we talking about just America, quote unquote, and we say America, we talking about North America. Can't forget all our brothers and sisters that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, right? A lot of times we generalizing too. It's just like my sister back here, right? All of the evidence of all of the people that are of the children of Israel that are out in the Philippines. All of the evidence of the children of Israel, we was just talking to Kenya today, getting their backstory, their history on how they know who they are, right? We seen a brother that's in Indonesia. All of this. Imagine all over the earth, simultaneously, our people have gone into captivity. If that's not mind-blowing, I don't know what is. And then, go ahead. Absolutely. My thing is this, man. Well, before we went out to Ghana, you know, I started studying and just years and seeing things that started making sense to me. But I didn't go into Ghana with any preconceived notions because I wanted to see it for what the experience was going to be. I realized that much. But I was excited to see what was going to be revealed to me. And upon going out there, seeing what I saw and experiencing what I experienced, because there was a time it's like, hold on. Well, we know there's some Israelites in Africa. You know, we always want to hold on. Now out here, you know, indigenous people, black people, we already know. We got indigenous people already on the land. So-called black people came over in ships. Man, we fit the curses. And they over there, they don't really fit the curses. They got their own land, their own. Think about it, man. They not in their own land. To go there and to experience that and to see these people. Because at first, you're like, man, look, hold on. I see you out there. I see you out there. I see her out there. I see her out there. I'm like, hold on. Then they acting like us. It was crazy because you seen some Hamites more so in Accra, right? But then when we went to Kumasi, it was like, hold on. It was just different. It's like the spirit was just us, right? For the Most High, literally, to go there and to see them subjugated like we subjugated here. Here, now watch this. This was mind-blowing to me. Here I am. We in Africa. Soil look rich. I look, and the land is just lush. It's just greenery everywhere. I look this way, I see some coconuts. I look this way, I see some doggone mangoes. You can just pull them off the trees, they there. But then I look at the people and they trying to wear Jordans. Trying to wear Timberlands. Then we went to the grocery store, man. I'm expecting like the most organic of organics. I'm like, man, they got it all here. They like, you talking about Whole Foods. It's going to be, man, that grocery store, boy, Now that was like Food for Less on crack. They grocery store, the products was worse. And it was crazy because we got a chance to pit stop in Canada. We got a chance to pit stop in Belgium. And I looked at, man, they didn't even have the same flavors of Lay's. It wasn't no red 40, wasn't none of that mess, wasn't none of that. They had, the ingredients was cut in half. Portion size was different. The canned sodas didn't look the same. They was like skinny. Bags of chips, way smaller, way less sodium content. Then I went to Africa. Mess around and went to Kumasi. Oh yeah, this is where the Ashanti's at. I go up in their grocery store, mind you. I'm gonna use it for shock value. It's niggas all in the parking lot. We hearing music, they hey. Where we at? We at the mall. Where the grocery store at? In the mall. You got security guards at the front. Is it cool if I bring this in? Oh, you good. Some of them you had to check on the other side, the other grocery store. You had to, in the mall, you had to check your stuff in. You couldn't take. I'm like, damn, it's the hood. And they just had so much garbage in there, man. Just garbage. It ain't hard to find where the children of Israel is at, man. Man, man, they ain't Israel. Have you went to the grocery stores? Real talk. I tell people all the time, why only us in the hood? Where everybody else at? If we ain't this people that we say we are, where everybody else at? Why we in it together? Huh? That's why I had to do this. I said, man, it can't just be some black history. It's beyond black history. It's Israelite history. Go from there. I'm gonna make this short, man. Go to Baruch chapter 2. I don't even want to get that, man. You could write that down. Baruch chapter 2, verse 1 through 10. Just showing that we, cursed in this captivity for our disobedience. But I do want Proverbs chapter 23. Proverbs chapter 23 and 27.
Proverbs 23, verse 27. For a whore is a deep ditch.
The Bible calls this place the great harlot, harlot of harlots. America is her name. Hoe of all hoes. Said, for a whore is a deep ditch. You will fall deep when you fall into bed with America. Go ahead.
And a strange woman is a narrow pit.
A strange woman is a narrow pit. Why a narrow pit? You fall into a pit and it got enough room, and you a thinker, and you ingenuitive, if that's a word, enough, then you can figure out how to get up out of there. Is that right? That's right, ingenuitive? Nah. Help me out.
Sounded like one.
But But you mess around and fall in a pit that's narrow. Have you ever like been in a tight space where you can't do nothing? You can't move like you ever been able to just take off a shirt, but when you're in that seat belt, you restrain. You like, dang, I can't get this mug all the way up. Or you get a shirt that's just a little bit too small and you try to stretch that mug, get the arms out. He said that's what it's like. Go ahead.
She also lieth in wait as for a prey, and increaseth the transgressors among men.
That's what this country does. Read.
Who hath woe? Who hath sorrow? Who hath contentions? Who hath babbling? Who hath wounds without cause? Who hath redness of eyes?
Go ahead.
They that tarry long at the wine, they that go to seek mixed wine.
He said you got all of this from messing with that wine that's spoken about in Revelation. Her policies, her democracy. Why her democracy? Because she say, okay, through my democracy, you get to choose. You get a vote. You get a say-so. But do we really get a say-so? It's all lies. Make you feel like you important, like your voice means something when your voice really don't mean nothing. Yeah. So you done drunk the wine and she making you feel good, telling you all of the right things, but yet you getting messed up. And you trying to figure out what's going on. She hits you upside the head and then massaging you. Hey, what happened? She punch you in the stomach and next thing you know, she rubbing your thighs. You're like, did you hear me? Nah, baby, why would I do that? Go ahead.
Look not thou upon the wine when it is red, when it giveth his color in a cup, when it moveth itself aright. At the last it biteth like a serpent, and stingeth like an adder.
You drunk just a little bit too much. You ever felt like that? I've seen a lot of y'all have y'all moments. You drunk, you was good. I'm good. Then that one drink, shouldn't have did it. That last one got him. He was one over your limit. Go ahead.
Thine eyes shall behold strange women, and thine heart shall utter perverse things. Yea, thou shalt be as he that lieth down in the midst of the sea, or as he that lieth upon the top of a mast.
So he said, your eyes shall behold strange women, women that you normally wouldn't entertain. These ideologies and religions and thoughts that you normally wouldn't entertain. Now all of a sudden you entertain them. He says, and thine heart shall utter perverse things, things that normally wouldn't come out your mouth, now you saying. He said, yea, thou shalt be as that lieth down in the midst of the sea. Now picture this. Imagine yourself lying in the midst of the sea. How many of you guys have ever been on a boat in the midst of the sea? Raise your hand. No. Yeah, just you like pretty much you out there, or you don't see no immediate land near you. Yeah. A lot of y'all like, I was out there, but I didn't look. Go ahead.
Yea, thou shalt be as he that lieth down in the midst of the sea, or as he that lieth upon the top of a mast. They have stricken me. Thou shalt say, and I was not sick. They have beaten me, and I felt it not. When shall I awake? I will seek it yet again.
So in other words, you got tore up, you got messed up, you got beat up, you're feeling it, but you really don't know what happened because you blacked out. He said, that's you, that's Israel. And then you're going to wake up and do it all over again. That's our story. We get messed up in this world, but we keep on drinking the wine. We still want to party the next night and have a good time. Knowing we get lit up and beat up in the relationship, but yet it's good times. That's the foolishness behind what a lot of our people continue to go through. It's a vicious cycle. At some point, you got to say, okay, no more. I got to wake up. Don't give me no more of that, because I can't even remember what you did to me last night. I need to know what's going on. Go from there. Give me Romans chapter 11 and verse 25.
Book of Romans 11, verse 25. For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened to Israel, unto the fullness of the Gentiles be come in.
So that blindness in part has happened to us, man. You know, blindness, meaning a lot of things that we should be able to see is hard for us to see when it comes down to doctrines. Not even just when it comes down to doctrines, but when it just comes down to what's before us, what's really happening in this world. A lot of times we don't see, you know, but we got to wake up. He said that blindness is going to continue to be upon our people until all of this is finally fulfilled, and then we going to wake up. Go to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 6.
2 Thessalonians 2, verse 6. And now ye know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let, until he be taken out of the way. And when shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming?
So now he's talking about same thing that we talking about, the end of this captivity, right? That captivity, the end of that captivity is coming near. Like we're right upon it. Go ahead.
Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan.
So he's talking about who? Nation of Edom, Esau. Read about him in Revelation chapter 2 and 9. He is the chosen vessel of Satan. Go ahead.
With all power and signs and lying wonders.
All power and signs and lying wonders. Man, we was talking about all of this movie stuff, man. When you look into have any of you guys looked into the history of Hollywood? How many of you guys know about like the moguls? Know about the inception of Hollywood itself? How they got it going, the little movie parlors that they started, the actual name Hollywood, where it comes from, all the history of the magic, the black magic. You guys know about that? A little bit. Now, with all of that being said, look what kind of magic they making on the big screen and on the small screen. Go ahead, Howard. Give him a mic.
The water. Even the word holly, I think it comes from a tree they, supposedly use for sorcery and
Holly
stuff.
tree?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, the actual Hollywood.
Right.
And they would make
Hollywood,
magic
yeah.
wands out of it.
Yep.
Yep. Cast spells. Now they casting a spell on you. Believe in that movie magic. I want to be romantic, just like Valentine's Day. Just passed. I mean, I don't want to keep Valentine's Day, but I'm just saying. That's that Hollywood. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved.
See, our people, a lot of our people still have not received the love of the truth. Now, that's heavy right there. A lot of us are, put it like this. I guarantee if I say, all right, how many of y'all have received the truth? Everybody up in here should raise their hand. But how many of y'all love this truth? To love the truth means to love everything that comes along with it. Yeah, it's a hell of a pill to swallow. It's a lot of our people that are in the truth but don't necessarily have the love of the truth. where it's not grievous. Nothing that the Bible says, thus saith the Lord, is grievous to us. Go ahead. And he said that they might be saved, meaning what? You better find the love of the truth. It ain't enough just to be in this truth. You better love this truth in order for you to be saved. Otherwise, you wasting your time. Go ahead.
And for this cause, the Most High shall send them strong delusion.
Now that's when it get tough. He said, and for that reason, the Most High is going to send these Israelites strong delusion, right? So here we are, 400 years later. At least you got enough people that have enough common sense where they're acknowledging 400 years. Okay, I'm going to play along for a second. 400 years, 2019, right? They recognize that, right? I've seen a couple of logos and events, so on and so forth. Now, if we've been captives here for 400 years, then what should that mean? Number one, again, it's acknowledgement that the Bible is true. Right? And even beyond that, you got a situation where your people have been captives for 400 years, obviously still going because nothing major has happened from the moment where you've agreed that we've been in captives 400 years up to 2019. Ain't nothing changed 2020. And what are we doing about it? What are we willing to do about it? We okay with it? You say no, but look at us. What kind of moves are we willing to take or make? What kind of lives are we willing to lose? What kind of sacrifice are we willing to give? You know, when you look at it, it says, and for this cause, the Most High shall send them strong delusion. The point that I'm getting at is after all this happened, after everybody, I don't know how long y'all been in this truth, but it wasn't even about 5 years ago. It was this big old push for the world to prove how silly we were for saying something as stupid as blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, as well as those scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, were the Israelites that the Bible speak of. Everybody was like, what? Everybody was like, trying to disprove it and all of that. And the more they tried to disprove it, the more silly they sounded, and they realized that, hold on, I can't naysay it. These people are on to something. And then what happened after that? Crickets. Ain't nobody else tried to come up. Like what's been the last push? Who's been the last person to come up to be like, oh man, I'm gonna prove to y'all that these niggas is tripping, they ain't lying with the, like, who? Now they just try to catch you up on your doctrines, right? All right, Ron. Who's the last person or what's the last push that's come out to try to debate whether or not we're the children of Israel?
The apologetics and the Kemites. That's it.
Where they at? Where Polite at? Some of y'all was in love with Polite. That nigga gone. He ain't nowhere to be found. He got what he wanted, and he living a good life. Where the other fool, Pharaoh? What was his name? Who? That, yeah. That, what was his name? Yeah, that's him, Shaka Atmos. I think that was Yashamar's favorite. He gonna get me later for that. that was him and Isaiah's favorite. Where all of them cats at? Ain't no. So now here's my thing. then how many celebrities since then have come out and said, hey, we are the Israelites? So for all of that to happen, and our people still on what they own, that's strong delusion. You delusional. For you not to step up and say, okay, then we got to do something about this. It seems like almost every month there's a new person that comes out that says, yeah, I know we the Israelites, blah, blah, blah. But it's got to be strong delusion upon our people to say, you know what? That ain't none of my business. I'm going to keep my head down and I'm going to keep on working. Go ahead.
And for this cause, the Most High shall send them strong delusion that they should believe a lie, that all might be damned who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness.
They got, and that's really what it boils down to. For everybody that's going harder in the bootleg church, for everybody that's going harder with all of these various different doctrines that our people are caught up in, you just are having pleasure in unrighteousness at this point, because it's been definitively proven to you, and you want to praise white Jesus. You want to do everything that's contrary to everything that's been proven that you can't naysay. So at this point, in other words, what I'm saying is you can finally stop feeling bad about all of these people of our own that are going to be punished. What I aim to say, all of my people, all of the sinners of my people shall die by the sword. They're going to be the first to go. Go ahead, give me that last verse, verse 13.
But we are bound to give thanks always to the Most High for you, brethren, beloved of the Lord, because the Most High hath from the beginning chosen you to salvation through sanctification of the Spirit and belief of the truth.
Through sanctification of the Spirit, sanctified. What does sanctification mean? Huh? Set apart. That's where you get the word saint from, right? To be sanctified. To be a saint means to be holy, consecrated. That's what it's talking about. And because you believe the truth. Why? Because so many of our people don't believe the truth enough. It ain't that they don't believe some. Just like the one cat that said, help thou my unbelief. It ain't that they don't believe. You know how many people around you that you see on an everyday basis that are convinced enough to know that they're Israelites even though they won't utter it out of their mouth? I've had so many conversations with so many people that will tell you on the low, yeah, I know I'm an Israelite, but I still got to get this money. I still can't rock the cradle. I still can't be seen with y'all. But we've accepted the belief and love of the entire truth. I hope so. Don't waste your time in here unless you have, or unless you about to. Go ahead and jump all the way over. You know, that's what it's about, man. 400 years later, it's time. It's time for us to get up out of here. So I ain't going to hold y'all no longer. I'm going to give y'all like one or two more. Give me Ezekiel chapter 37. Ezekiel chapter 37. Start me off at verse 9.
Ezekiel 37, verse 9.
Yep.
Then said he unto me, prophesy unto the wind. Prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind, thus saith Yahweh, the Most High, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live.
He talking about the four winds, which means what? North, south, east, and west. He said, come from all over. He said, I want you to preach this in every country, every continent. He said, don't worry about any specific place. He said, just let it be heard. He said, I'm going to use the wind. It's just like pollination. There are different things that the Most High uses to pollinate, right? And without that, there would not be nearly the amount of plant life to sustain life here on this planet, right? He uses bees, butterflies, other insects, birds, so on and so forth, right? But one of the biggest things that he uses, believe it or not, is just simply the wind. Things are just carried with the wind, and it lands in various different places where it needs to land. Then it grows up, right? A lot of times we feel like we just preaching to the choir, so to speak. We just preaching to the wind, as the scriptures say. But I done heard people say, man, I've been listening to you for the last year in my apartment. I stay 2 blocks away. I can hear you loud and clear. Y'all be on that speaker system. Got folks in Africa and Australia. Man, we've been watching you. That's Iran. That's Ashnapash. When we went to Ghana, champ, and I got in the car, Mana Shas is one of the ones that speaks the best English there. Amas doesn't, he speaks pretty, he speaks well enough, but he's not as polished. So, you kind of gotta, I didn't realize that at first. I'm talking to him and I ain't getting like a quick response. And, I gotta slow it down. But boy, as soon as I tried to tell him anything True Nation, I called myself trying to tell him who was who. He was, oh no, that's Ratazan. That's Hayakar. Yeah, I know that. He knew everybody. You got people watching you. They not watching the stuff that you like to watch. They don't care about that. You are their everyday television. They got to get a dose of Izar Allah every day. They got to sit there and watch their Shalimar for the day. And they know brothers by name. I remember we went even places here in the United States. Text, oh, brother, been watching you. Man, it's just an honor. I'm like, man, I'm from LA. I'm from South Central. I ain't nobody. You sitting up here talking about, I'm like, man, all praise be to the Most High. Oh, bro, hey, you just don't know. He said, just do the work. Just keep prophesying to the wind. It's getting out there. Go ahead.
Verse 10. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived, and stood upon their feet, an exceeding great army.
And then brothers look strong. All praise be to the Most High. Thank all of y'all, man, for being a part of that video. What was so special to me about that video, man, is just seeing the unity. That was big for everybody else. It's crazy because we sit up here and we see these shirts every week, week in and week out. We get tired of them. It ain't nothing to us, man. Nothing. You gonna do a video and you gonna do it in True Nation shirts? But man, it's the freshest thing ever for everybody outside to see. And it was so impactful to them to see us because it's reminiscent of this right here. It's the same thing when IURC did what they did, man. It was impactful. You might not be in agreements with everything in their doctrine, but you had to give it to them. It was impactful to see that many in numbers unified in the way that they was unified. That's what this is about. He said, we're going to rise up as a great army. He said, I know y'all, I'm no doctor, I'm no camp. He said, you'll be a camp in a minute. He said, well, two and three are gathered together. There I am in the midst. I ain't about the camps, but we come together every week. It's about 5 or 6 of us, couple of families. You a camp. You ain't got to call yourself a name. You ain't got to put no colors on. I'm not going to say nothing and try to make you look foolish. Just know the Most High is gathering. He's gathering. He said, I'm going to raise you up as an exceeding army. Read on.
Then said he unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel.
He said the whole house of Israel is coming together like Voltron. Go ahead.
Behold, they say, our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our part.
He said, it look like we ain't gonna never get it together. But watch this.
Therefore prophesy and say unto them, thus saith Yahweh the Most High, behold, O my people, I will open your graves, and cause you to come up out of your graves, and bring you into the land of Israel.
He said, I'm gonna dig you up. You thought you was done. He said, you thought you was at rest. They pulled, and I'm young, I be saying it, but they pulled my old self up out the grave to do some music. Boy, y'all know, I thought I was giving it up. I really, and I never thought I'd say that. I was at a point, I was like, man, I'm done. I said, I'm done. And the Most High said, man, look, I had Moses writing songs, and he was a lot older than you. The work got to be done. He's just pushing me. Hey, you got to do this. You got. All praise be to the Most High for them, because as much as at times I'm just not driven in the same way I used to be driven. I'm not that same young cat no more. We was out there hustling. We got to do that. We got to do that. I got to make sure, get my followers up. I got to push myself to do that because I'm in a different mindset. My mindset really shifted when I had kids. But I also have to check myself and realize how impactful that music is to my nation. It's all of the things that we doing collectively that's just allowing it to be prophesied and sent out in the wind. You know what I'm saying? All praise be to the Most High, because what I'm saying is 400 years later, we at the end. I ain't mad at you for your 2019, so you might have adjusted and pushed it back to 2020. It don't look like for all the things, because the scriptures say all of the things that got to happen. I don't think it's going to be 2020 personally. I give it at least over a decade, maybe a little well over a decade. Like the brothers say, I don't know about 30, that might be pushing it. But soon we getting up out of here. But all praise be to the Most High that the writing is on the wall that we finally getting up out of here. We finally about to get up out of here. I know sometimes we come down, we talk about this, I want to talk about this lesson. Man, but at the end of the day, I'm just trying to do everything in love. I'm ready to get up out of here. Ready to get up out of here. Go ahead and finish that off. We're going to end it at 14. Go ahead.
Therefore prophesy and say unto them, thus saith Yahweh power, behold, O my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come up out of your graves and bring you into the land of Israel. And ye shall know that I am the Lord, when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves. And ye shall and ye shall put my spirit in you, and ye shall live, and I shall place you in your own land. Then shall ye know that I am the Most High, have spoken it, and performed it, saith the Lord.
So we going to know 400 when we actually back in that land. All praise be to the Most High. In the name of his son, our King, Hamashiach Yahushua. Got any announcements? Congratulations real quick, man. Stand up. Yeah, you. Come on, man.